what time it is. It is time to talk about meiosis. Sometimes you'll hear it called meiosis, depending on who is teaching it and where they're from and how they pronounce it. But meiosis or meiosis, your choice, just like tomato or tomato. What we're talking about here is we are talking about the difference between what we saw with body cells in the mitosis versus what we're going to see now with the gametes, what we call the gamete cells, or the germ cells in meiosis. All right, so here's some information that you definitely need to know. Body cells, which go through the process of mitosis, okay, we talked about skin cells and brain cells and heart cells and so forth. Those are called your somatic cells, okay, and they do mitosis. Germ cells, which are also called your gametes, which is also known as the egg and the sperm, egg if you're female, sperm if you're male, they are located in the ovaries for the egg and the testes for the sperm. And they all have unique DNA, and the DNA gets passed on from parent to basically offspring. Okay, and that's what we're going to look at right here. So these are some pictures. This is a body cell. Okay, the way it's striated like that, possibly a muscle cell or a tissue cell. Here you've got your sperm cells, which you've probably seen since you were like in 5th grade health class, and you saw that first picture where it looks like the little head and the tail swimming. And then this would be the egg cell. Okay, so moving on. What you need to know about your body and the chromosomes. Well, you have 2 types of chromosomes in your body. You have autosomal chromosomes and you have sex chromosomes. Okay, and because we know we have 23 pairs, 22 of them, chromosomes 1 through 22, are going to be called your autosomal chromosomes. Okay, and then your 23rd pair is known as your sex chromosomes. It's going to give you the X if you're a female, or the XY if you're a male, and it determines your gender. Okay, when you get the pairing of these chromosomes, so when they pair up, they're called homologous pairs, and that's this big word here, homologous pairs. So you can see you have a chromosome 1, and it's got a pair, a partner that's equal genes in equal locations, equal size, and so forth. So that would be its homologous pair. Here's chromosome 2, okay, and here's its homologous pair. Equal size, even though it's kind of bent, equal size, equal genes, so forth. So like for instance, this is very generic and it's not actually exactly how it is, but let's say chromosome number 1, this red tip here gives you your hair color. Well, it also is going to code for your hair color. Okay, so they're homologous. Okay, and this pair down here, this is called your 23rd pair, and you can see there's a big difference between the size of the X chromosome and the size of the Y chromosome. Okay, there is a reason for that. More genes are carried on the X chromosome than on the Y chromosome. So that's why they're different in size. All right, so now you understand what the difference is of a homologous pair. All right, quick recap, and there's a couple slides that show this throughout, the differences between them. But one of the differences between mitosis and meiosis is the way the chromosomes are represented and what you end up for a count on those chromosomes as far as like how many there are. Okay, and you learned this when we did our DNA lab. You saw something called an octoploid. It told you that the strawberry was an octoploid organism, which means it had 8 copies of each chromosome. Well, you as a person, because you have a pairing situation, you have 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s, 2 number 3s, you are called a diploid. Okay, Di is the 2 prefix. Okay, so every one of your body cells, your somatic cells, is going to be considered diploid because it has 46 chromosomes, or 23 pairs. Okay, now your gametes, which is the egg and the sperm, are going to be different. Okay, you cannot have 46 chromosomes in each one of those, and that when the egg and the sperm meet, then you're going to end up with way too many chromosomes. You need to end up with 46 chromosomes. So in order to get the result of only 46 chromosomes, 23 will come from the egg and 23 will come from the sperm. That makes sense? Total fertilization after the egg is fertilized, 46 chromosomes. Okay. Well, what we call that is a haploid cell. It has half the number. So hopefully you're seeing some of these plays on the words. So a haploid cell has half the number of chromosomes. Okay, and it's going to have 23 chromosomes. 22 will be your autosomal chromosomes, carrying all your body features and characteristics, and then 1 chromosome that will determine the sex. All right? Here's another way to look at them as far as comparison. Here's the mitosis, and here's the key things that you see, and here's meiosis and the key things that you will see. Okay, so definitely make sure you're familiar with the similarities and the differences between the two. Okay, and we kind of talked about this a little bit during our bell ringer. The process, you've been making your flashcards, so really don't have a lot to add to this, but remember that you're talking about homologous chromosomes in meiosis 1. So homologous chromosomes pair up, and then homologous chromosomes separate. Okay? It stays in the complete X formation. Right? Result is 2 daughter cells that are unique and different. Okay? And you can kind of see how the genetic material is different. Okay, another thing that I want you to add, possibly to your flashcards so that you remember this, and we're going to talk about what crossing over is later in our hereditary unit, but crossing over where the chromosomes are going to exchange genetic material so that you have a better blending of the material from your mom and your dad, that happens during prophase 1. All right, next one is meiosis 2. Okay, we don't have homologous chromosomes, so this is going to look very much like mitosis. You know, the X separates, sister chromatids, but how many cells do you see? We finished meiosis 1 with 2 cells, which means we start meiosis 2 with 2 cells. And guess what? The DNA is not replicated, because then we would have too much of it. Okay, so it's not replicated in prophase 1 like it is in meiosis 1 or it is in mitosis. Okay, and what do you end up with then? 4 daughter cells. Okay, 4 daughter cells. And we're going to talk about those cells a little bit more detail here in the next slide. Okay. Let's look at this from a production standpoint. All right, we know that males are going to produce the sperm then. So the 4 cells that are going to come out of this, they're going to be haploid, which means they have half the chromosomes, and they're all going to be viable sperm cells that could go off and fertilize an egg. Okay, that's where that's coming from. Now, in a female, that's different. Okay, we're producing the egg, and guess what? There's not 4 eggs that are produced. You can see there's a difference here. What happens is the cell divides, and it divides so that you get 1 viable egg and then what we call polar bodies. Now, this illustration only shows 2. Some illustrations will show that this actually divided so you had 3 polar bodies. Okay, the fact of the matter is these polar bodies are no value. They end up getting absorbed right back by your body and cannot become a fertilized egg. This is the only egg that will go on and potentially become fertilized to form a new life, okay, or a new organism. All right. What else do I need to show you? This is just can you compare them again? What's the end result? What are the key things that you need to know? Okay. So there. I think that's all I have to share with you for these notes. So you know, it's Tuesday night. You have a quiz on this material tomorrow, and you know, we didn't actually take a quiz last week because of HSAP, but I think you can pretty much bet on having a quiz this week on the actual notes. So come prepared for class tomorrow, and I will see you tomorrow in class. Bye.